Hi everyone. I've got something just a little bit different than usual. Still playing with the new Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and I've been doing some of the challenges for helicopters. Here you can see I just went through my settings. I'm not using any assists, and I am doing all of the flying in VR from the cockpit. A couple other users, we've been chatting on the forums, and we were trying to figure out how the challenges work, and another user was able to do the challenges with the assists on and still get really high scores. I decided to do a couple of the challenges. Well, I did all three of the available helicopter challenges and see what kind of scores I would get with the assists off and doing it from the cockpit view. There really doesn't seem to be any kind of penalty for using the assists. You can also see some of the issues that we're having with helicopters and elevated platforms and the way ground effect comes on. Moving forward, there's no way to record a replay of the challenges or the career right now. So if you're flying in VR, the only way to record is to record the mirror. The VR mirror has about half the frame rate that the headset has and just isn't great quality. I apologize ahead of time for the state of the video, but this is really the only way to capture what's happening in these modes. I'm going to run through these challenges and I'll just let you watch. Try to pardon the jitteriness at certain times. It's definitely when it's loading, it's stuttery. The frame rate is low. Like when you're in the headset, it does not look like this. It's sharp, it's clear, and it's smooth. Just so everyone knows that the way that this video appears is not exactly how VR appears in the sim. And of course, my dogs have been sleeping all day, and as soon as I decided to record, they have been getting up and moving around. Pardon my dogs and the noise they make in the background. The other thing too about the helicopter challenges, so far, all of the challenges have just been land the helicopter. Nothing too crazy, but I get for most flight sim users that aren't used to helicopters that's quite challenging. But for helicopter pilots, it's kind of our bread and butter. We do it with every flight. Here you go. Check out these challenges. There are also only 3 criteria listed for the scoring system in the helicopter challenges. One is how far you are from the target, and it doesn't really specify what part of the helicopter is supposed to be. Is it the center of the helicopter? That's not really shown or known. The other criteria is the alignment of the helicopter to the target on the ground. And the third criteria is the vertical speed, how softly you set it down. Those are the only criteria that are listed. It's really hard to get a different score. Basically, I would fly and I would try to adjust the helicopter based on those 3 criteria, and I was pretty much getting the same score almost every time. The first challenge didn't really have an issue with the ground effect bug because it was not an elevated platform. ground effect just came on how it usually does, which is actually improved in the sim under normal circumstances over 2020. For the second challenge you're watching, the ground effect bug can affect you if you come across the edge of the platform. However, if you approach it how you should with a real helicopter, and you plan to come down at a 15-degree angle anyways, it really doesn't make that much of a difference on this large of a pad. You don't cross the edge, so the bug doesn't really occur. One of the other things that's a problem with all these helicopter challenges is when you click fly, you're just hovering at 0 speed in the air. You're either going to drop a ton or you have to pick up forward speed all of a sudden. It's just not typical that you would just be hovering there in place. Normally you're going to be moving at some speed. Trying to match your controls to do something when you click start, there's always some kind of jolt when you get into the helicopter, which is weird. I don't know what can be done there. But with this one, you'll see the ground effect bug is a major problem because the pad is so small you can't help but cross the edge. And what's happening is rather than it coming on gradually as the rotor disc gets near the pad, it's coming on all of a sudden as the center of the helicopter is crossing the edge of the pad, and that's just not what happens in real life. I'll talk about it a little bit more on the last attempt. So after this attempt, this was the highest score I think I got on the needles. I'll put in the video an attempt where I actually did a go around. We can talk about it more there. You could see in that last one, and that was the smoothest attempt I had, but as you cross the edge you get a sudden increase in yaw, and it also vaults you upwards about 5 to 10 feet, which is just not what happens in real life. In real life it kind of pushes you back away from it. You hit it and it's almost like somebody's pushing you backwards, and you just have to push harder to push across that edge. That's typically how it goes, but you don't get a sudden increase in yaw, and you don't all of a sudden get a sudden increase in lift. That's not what happens in real life. This one is much more drastic, and you'll see what happens. Here you can see as I approach the edge, watch the cyclic, and you'll kind of see the helicopter kind of stops, and you have to push it more forward to get across the edge, and that's how it should be. That's correct. But then what happens is the center of the helicopter crosses the edge, you get a sudden increase in lift and a sudden yaw instability like you just saw right there. That is not correct. That is not what happens. That is the bug that we're talking about that needs to be corrected. It happens on elevated helipads, it happens at the edge of buildings, and it also happens over trees. Anyways, thanks for watching, be safe, be kind, and I'll see you in the next video.